Your roadmap to the latest in auto. Welcome to Highway Herald. In this video, we explore a global trade standoff sparked by President Trump's sweeping tariff demand on over 150 countries. What began as a bold move quickly triggered backlash, market turmoil, and rising inflation. From Wall Street shocks to retailer warnings, the fallout is massive. So how did this aggressive policy spiral into chaos? Buckle up. Here are the major developments driving this global economic revolt and what they could mean for the road ahead. Power posturing or panic move? The tariff blitz backfires. April 2nd was proclaimed Liberation Day by the Trump administration, marking the rollout of a sweeping and aggressive trade policy. A blanket 10% tariff was imposed on nearly all U.S. imports, with some countries facing punitive rates as high as 50%. The escalation didn't stop there. At a business forum in Abu Dhabi just weeks later, Trump announced that 150 countries would be formally notified of their financial obligations to continue trading with the United States. Intended as a show of economic force, the move quickly drew criticism. Instead of opening doors to negotiation, it was widely seen as economic strong-arming. Major allies like Japan, South Korea, and the European Union were blindsided. Reports from Bloomberg and Reuters highlighted that these letters lacked legal precedent and were more symbolic than binding. Even administration insiders conceded they were rushed efforts to fill the void left by failed talks. Wall Street wasted no time reacting. The S&P 500 tumbled 5.3%, erasing $1.8 trillion in market value. Economists reiterated, tariffs are taxes, and American companies bear the brunt. A 2024 CBO report confirmed that 92% of the impact remained domestic. But the pain wasn't just global, it was hitting Main Street, USA next. Price surges and business suffering, the domestic repercussions. By the end of April, the effects of the tariff shockwave were no longer theoretical. Americans were feeling it in their wallets. The Bureau of Labor Statistics reported a 0.7% spike in core inflation, with electronics, household goods, and apparel seeing the sharpest increases. During its May 10th earnings call, Walmart warned of upcoming price hikes across more than 8,000 product categories. Target echoed the concern, pointing directly to new tariffs on imports from China, India, and Mexico. While large corporations had the scale to absorb some of the blow, smaller businesses were less fortunate. The National Federation of Independent Business revealed that 42% of small firms had delayed major investments, and 38% froze hiring entirely. In April alone, 1,300 small businesses filed for bankruptcy, a 23% increase year over year. Consumer confidence took a nosedive. According to the University of Michigan's Consumer Sentiment Index, 74% of respondents now viewed tariffs as a top economic concern, up from 58% just 1 month earlier. As prices surged, everyday Americans began bracing for a much costlier future. Before we delve deeper, take a moment to subscribe to Highway Herald. Your support keeps us cruising forward with in-depth automotive insights like this one. Now let's talk trade deals, or rather, the deals that didn't quite materialize. Deal-making disasters, from bold promises to bare bones. When Trump claimed 90 trade deals in 90 days would redefine America's economic alliances, it played well on the campaign trail. But by mid-May, the scoreboard told a different story. Only 2 deals had emerged, both light on legal substance. One framework with the UK, another with China. The UK agreement even carried a footnote stating it was not legally binding. Negotiations with other countries quickly sputtered. Japan demanded a full rollback of the new tariffs before engaging. South Korea pulled out of discussions entirely due to leadership turnover. India and Vietnam, both facing punitive tariffs of up to 46%, found themselves locked in bureaucratic standstills. Behind the scenes, things were even more dire. Treasury projections warned of potential inflation surpassing 5% and a $200 billion hit to consumer spending. With pressure mounting, Trump hit pause on April 15th, calling it a strategic reset. But leaks told another story, one of internal chaos, investor hesitation, and a policy storm with no clear direction. And if those failed deals spooked foreign diplomats, imagine what it did to corporate boardrooms back home. Corporate standstill and the fog of trade policy. Trade policy thrives on predictability, but that's exactly what was lost under the Trump administration's tariff strategy. Constant pivots, mixed messaging, and abrupt proclamations created a whirlwind of uncertainty that even corporate titans struggled to navigate. In April alone, capital expenditures among U.S. manufacturers plummeted by 11%, marking the steepest one-month drop since the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic. Retailers followed suit, slashing inventory orders to avoid getting stuck with products that could suddenly carry punishing tariff rates. Even industry giants like General Electric hit pause on their expansion plans. A May 15th report from the McKinsey Global Institute echoed the rising concern. According to the study, 62% of American CEOs delayed major capital investments, citing unmanageable trade instability. The administration boasted about $12 trillion in domestic investment plans, but critics quickly pointed out that many of those projects were recycled announcements or still on paper. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick called the uncertainty strategic ambiguity. Business leaders called it something else: paralysis. With regional tariff schemes floated, many feared a chaotic, unpredictable global trade environment. And while the U.S. reeled in confusion, the rest of the world began charting a course around it. Defiance, deals, and the decline of U.S. leverage. Instead of pressuring trade partners into submission, the Trump administration's tariff blitz triggered a coordinated wave of defiance. Key allies didn't fold. They fought back. The European Union readied $100 billion in retaliatory tariffs. Canada secured a $14.2 billion LNG deal with China. Ironically, a proposal originally aimed at the U.S.-Vietnam sent negotiators to Washington, but left the table, calling America's demands unworkable. And France's finance minister delivered a sharp rebuke, branding the U.S. an unreliable trade partner. This wasn't just diplomatic blowback, it signaled a credibility crisis. Former National Economic Council Director Gary Cohn summed it up bluntly on CNBC. Trump thought tariffs meant other countries were footing the bill. They're not. U.S. businesses are. His words captured the growing consensus that this wasn't a calculated trade plan. It was improvised policy with serious domestic consequences. By late May, the data told the story. U.S. exports had dropped 2.1% in Q2. Oxford Economics forecasted a $128 billion GDP loss if tariffs persisted. The National Retail Federation reported import costs had soared 12% to 19%. Even Walmart warned, these price hikes weren't temporary, they were permanent. Which leads us to the final tally: the economic damage and the diplomatic fallout. Final analysis: trade wars and the price of uncertainty. What was meant to be a display of strength has become a cautionary tale in economic miscalculation. Trump's sweeping tariff campaign aimed to force better trade deals, but instead triggered inflation, strained supply chains, and weakened trust among allies and businesses alike. Now, with prices rising and deals dissolving, the U.S. faces deeper consequences than expected. As the July 9th snapback deadline looms, the question remains: will diplomacy prevail, or are we heading into a full-blown trade war? One thing's clear: the global impact is already underway. Now tell us, bold tactic or costly misstep? How should automakers respond? Will allies turn away from U.S. trade? Drop your thoughts, opinions, and experiences in the comments. We're always eager to hear from fellow gearheads and global thinkers alike. If you found this analysis from Highway Herald insightful, hit that subscribe button for more updates on global trade, automotive policy, and economic trends. Thanks for watching, and see you next time. You can now check out any of the videos on the screen. There's more exciting and informative content waiting for you.